Okay, I'm going to walk you through the steps for how to sort of scan in a drawing, a traditional hand-drawn picture, and then we're going to convert that into Illustrator shape. So you want to go to File, New, and go through all the steps to select your the sort of size and shape of your artboard that you want it to be. Probably keep the CMYK artboard since this is going to go to print. I'll click OK on this. That just brings up an empty, kind of an empty piece of paper, right? So you want to go to File, Place, and you want to find your drawing. So you want to scan this on one of our scanners. If you want to, you can actually just even take a photo of it with your camera phone. That's what I did for mine. If you get decent lighting, you can just kind of get a decent photo of it. So just a real simple, basic sketch that you can place into Illustrator. So I drew this by hand with pencil on a piece of sort of piece of Bristol board, and then I went ahead and went over it with ink. And so you can see that when it placed it pretty big. So I need to resize this thing. Yeah, so probably the easiest way to do it is just to do that. If you ever want to zoom out so you can see everything, you can just hit Command negative, the Command minus sign, and that'll let you zoom out so you can kind of see what's going on. And zoom plus obviously zooms you back in. So once I get it kind of placed where I want to, I'll just Command zoom back in there. I can also just double click the hand, right, and that'll just kind of snap it all in there for me. So here's what my scan sort of drawing looks like. You know, photograph, scan, anything like that you want to use. And so, you know, you remember the tracing, hopefully the tracing auto trace function that Illustrator has. Most of the time it's really corny, but this is what it's made for. This is where it gets really good. So if you click on this, you can go up here to Image Trace, and you'll see there's a whole bunch of options here for things like black and white logo or sketched art. So let's just click sketched art really fast, and it's going to go through some steps. It's a pretty complicated thing. And if you zoom in on this now, you'll see that it's basically turned all of my lines that were just pixel-based things into this, you know, pretty great representation of my drawing. Like, this was what the drawing looked like before. This is what the auto trace of it looks like, the live trace. So that looks great, actually. It looks quite good. There's a lot of places where you can control this. So if you click on this little icon here, it'll bring up all these options, and you can change the threshold. So if I crank the threshold up, it's gonna make it more complicated. If I want more or less paths, I can do that. I always tell it to ignore white because I don't really want it to scan the white of the background in. It's just kind of needs to be the black lines basically. So if I like what I see, if it looks good, and everything is, you know, looking pretty sharp for the way I want it to be, I just want to click on this button here that says Expand. So if I click on the Expand button, you can see now that it's basically changed this into a whole bunch of points. So if I wanted to, I could actually go in here and adjust this, and I could play around with each point for each line. So it's basically now it's an editable Illustrator file. It's got all of my objects on there that I want to have. It's got one little problem here, which is this area, right? And if I click it, you'll notice that everything is grouped together. So this is one big group, and grouping is just Command G. If I click on my layer and I twirl it down, you'll see the group is there, and then inside the group there are like 1,000 paths that is created to trace over my image. So it's kind of confusing to try and find it in there. The easiest thing to do is just to grab the white arrow tool, highlight it, and just delete it out of there. If I wanted to, I could clean up some other stuff. So in my drawing, I kind of made one little error where I forgot that this guy's cape is going to go over his shoulder, and so that can be kind of a drag sometimes if you did that and you didn't mean to. But there's a cool and easy way to clean up stuff. So over here is the eraser tool. And if you click on that, there's a lot of options underneath it. But the eraser tool basically works like an eraser would if you used to go to good old-fashioned drawing. And any path that you kind of draw over, like let's say I draw over this one. Now instead of being a completed path, I have two separate endpoints there. So it just kind of deletes things out from your image. So we could just use the eraser tool actually, and if I want to, I can zoom in on this a little bit. And I can go in there and I kind of just erase away until I get rid of a lot of the error that I made there, so that it looks a little bit more like a cape would, a real cape. Obviously, you can get more or less detailed with this. If you want to increase the size of the eraser, you can just double click it, and it'll let you make the size of the eraser bigger. So so now you can see I've got this mammoth eraser that if I use it, it'll erase tons of stuff, which I might not want to do. So double clicking these tools generally brings up a set of parameters that you can adjust and try to fix. So just click OK. I'm just going to finish cleaning this up a little bit. So it's OK. Again, I can be more or less careful depending on my project and how far away it's going to be seen, and this is pretty detailed information in here. So if I double click on that now, there he is, this kind of dorky professor guy flying into the air. So that's the really simple, basic, beginning level line image trace that you'll want to use anytime you want to hand draw something and bring it into Illustrator and then figure out how to edit it. It's great if you love to draw by hand. It allows you to continue doing that, and then you can just dump it into Illustrator and work on it further. So I'm going to go ahead and show you here in a little while how to color these things and add more detail to it, and we'll try and walk our way through this whole process.